Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream.
No, it's supposed to be yes.
No.
All right, The Sandman on Netflix. We finally got to sit down and watch. It's not that we got to.
No.
We just did it.
We finally watched it.
No one was like, all right, guys, it's time.
It's time.
You can do it. No, we didn't make enough time until now. I think we started it back when it came out.
We did, and then I don't know. We had a weird December and end of the year and everything. I think that was when we kind of started watching it. And
December was a nightmare.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But we finished it.
We sure did. We sure did. A couple days ago. Yeah. We're actually have already watched almost an entire other show.
Yeah.
And a few movies since this. But whatever. So, The Sandman. Now, neither of us are familiar with the comic much, right?
No,
now, Neil Gaiman, your relationship with him is...
I am blanking because I've read one of his books, and I know of him as a fantasy author for sure.
Okay.
But of course, now that I'm on the spot, I'm I can't even remember what book it was that I read.
Yeah, I thought you had read some.
No, I actually own several Neil Gaiman books that I have not read. I own, I think, American Gods and Good Omens. I want to say I own both of those books, and I haven't read either of them.
Both of those are TV shows.
I know. My mom is a fan of Neil Gaiman, so I think she's read more of the books than I have.
One?
Yeah. One. I should look up a list.
I could probably read more than you have by the end of the week.
Honestly, yeah.
Anyway, so The Sandman. Now, this is a very big, ambitious project by Netflix. And it's always, I always have reservations about Netflix series these days, right? They quoted recently, I saw in some article or piece that Netflix has claimed they've never canceled a popular show. That's
a lie.
This is horseshit. This is total horseshit. Netflix is the absolute worst. They do not know what their audience actually wants. I am convinced of this. They will say yes to anything, and they will also say no to anything once it's started. Right? So they'll approve in literally anything at this point, but then they'll cancel it just on a whim. And they'll be like, oh, everyone's waiting for the Glow series finale? Let's film some of it. And then just say no. Oh, everyone loves Santa Clarita Diet? Ah, fuck them. Even though we left them on a cliffhanger. Meh. Sense8 was wildly popular. Yes, extremely expensive. And that's why the show ultimately got canceled. But people had to just absolutely swamp Netflix with give us Sense8 back. Give us Sense8 back, to where they finally were like, all right, here's a fucking movie. Shut up. But it's Netflix. You never canceled a popular show. That's a joke. This did get renewed for a second season. I always will hold my breath with them and be like, I ain't going to believe a second season's coming until it's actually on the screen and I'm watching it. And then I'm afraid they're going to start deleting it as I'm watching it or something. They're just, they really are kind of the worst. And I really don't want to get invested in anything that they say or do anymore.
Yeah.
But they put out some really cool shit sometimes. And
Definitely.
or a lot. And you just want to be do I get into this? Do I, we just finished Midnight Club.
Oh.
And it wasn't wildly popular. So I can agree that one didn't do really well in the ratings. But it is still left off on a cliffhanger. And it's they throw $900 million in a Knives Out 2 and 3. $900 million. How many fucking do you think they could have finished Glow, Santa Clarita Diet, Midnight Club, fucking Sense8 could have got what? They just spend their money like nutcases anyways. Yeah. So that's that about Netflix. So this show follows Morpheus, or Dream. He is imprisoned for about 100 years. And during that time of imprisonment, things kind of go to hell. Somewhat literally. And so once he finally escapes from that prison, he has to come and fix what's wrong with the dream world. And there has been some people running amok nightmares and Corinthians and the devil and all sorts of you know unsavory characters. But yeah, I mean, what'd you think?
I loved this show.
Yeah.
I was really into it. I loved all of the fantasy elements. I love just the fact that it's about dreams, essentially, and how important they can be to humans. And I don't know, it had all of the qualities that I really love in a fantasy show. And like Morpheus or Dream of the Endless, I definitely would have had like a huge crush on him if I had watched this when I was like younger. Like he's like the quintessential like dark and mysterious guy.
She has a crush on him now.
But I don't know. I thought it was really cool. It was very creative, and there was some really beautiful like episodes. There was one episode in particular that we watched like right after we finished Midnight Club, and it was like super emotional, and it kind of like followed some of the themes in Midnight Club that I really loved.
It has to do with like life and death.
Yeah.
It's episode 5 or something. It's the most highly rated episode. Something with like wings in the title.
For good reason.
You can look it up. I forget what it's. I think it's the one after 24/7, which is my favorite episode of the show. And what I think is really cool about this show is at least for the first like 5 or 6 episodes out of the 11 that are currently released, and the 11th episode, because that was kind of like a later release that they did like a few weeks after the show was over, which covered some like side stories that the comics released at one point. What I really liked is like up until probably, let's say, so the first, for sure, like some of them, like episode 4, Hope in Hell, 5, 24/7, 6, The Sound of Her Wings, which is the one you loved. Certain like episodes like that, I definitely wouldn't refer to this as like an anthology series, but it does definitely have a completely different tone from one episode to the next. Where I felt, now of course 24/7 is my favorite episode because it is the most horror. It's people trapped in a diner.
I mean, that one was, yeah.
Right. And they're kind of being forced to stay there and tell the truth. And the truth sometimes is not taken too kindly by people. And the truth can hurt and kill. So you have that. Then you have the trip down into hell. So and then the one that Kaylee's talking about, The Sound of Her Wings, which is great. We also follow death around in an episode for a while, showing kind of like the downsides and the upsides of death. So you really do cover a large swath of different flavors and different like styles and almost genres, right?
Yeah.
Like where The Sound of Her Wings is more about like what it would be like to live forever and the importance of friendship and stuff like that. And then 24/7 is like the benefits and the like the repercussions of truth and secrets, right? And like every one of them kind of has their own like message and themes to them, and they almost feel like separate stories that Dream just is connected to. Now later on, once you get into the Caribbean stuff and the girl, what's her name? The black girl.
Oh my gosh.
She
no.
Her name
Rose
is
Rose Walker.
Rose Walker, yes.
I was like,
once we get into her storyline, then this show gets pretty episodic, and we do follow kind of a through line with that, and that's when Dream starts to get to her narrative, and she just kind of has like 4 episodes in a row that really just kind of go one to the next, and they kind of lead off. Now I do want to say that every episode does leave it open for the next episode, and it does go into it, so it's not like they're ignored by any means. It's just those episodes feel like they all go together, and all the other episodes kind of feel like their own thing that's serving a larger story in the narrative. So I really loved that about it, and I liked that the departure from a more like kind of linear path of like tone and like I guess the goal's always the same, right? He's trying to restore things, but I guess it's just themes that are different, and it never felt like distracting or disconnecting.
Yeah, but we do kind of jump around in time and everything, which makes sense for like what he is, an immortal. You know, that's kind of, and it's so cool that there's all these other, like, we meet the devil, we meet death,
Desire
and then we meet desire and despair, but we don't really get to know them yet. And then there's destiny, and it's so cool to have these like personifications of these like abstract concepts that are that affect humanity, and are as like the show is kind of like it's they're a part of humanity as well. Like they wouldn't exist without humans.
Sure.
In some ways. So all of that I thought was really cool, and I liked seeing the personifications, and I want season 2 because I want more of the characters. But even just like with the Raven, like being able to travel in between the waking realm, Matthew, like that stuff was really cool. It's so magical. Like it had such a magical feel to it, but it was like equally dark and light. Like there was, as you were saying, there's episodes that are tonally like much more lighthearted, and other ones that are more horror and darker, and it just felt like everything flowed really nicely.
I do want to also point out that for a television series or for almost anything, the effects in this were top tier.
Yes.
Excellent. Really, really high production value here, and every dollar's on the screen. So whoever was involved in this project definitely put their best foot forward, and they hired really talented people who genuinely cared about the source material, because this is big, heady type shit to try to translate. This is that kind of stuff where an author like Neil Gaiman, or Alan Moore, or any of these comic book writers who write these like more grandiose, very hard to adapt type of stories, I feel like, and Neil Gaiman was involved in the creation of this show, and he gave it his blessing after it was done, and I saw a tweet about that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But this is a big concept that really, really could get very muddled, and I feel like the way that they were able to connect everything and weave it all together so well while telling such uniquely different stories in a very what could be a very confusing world. They really made it easy to digest, but also that there's enough going on that if you really want to get deeper into it and think more about it, and be more intellectually invested in it, you can do that as well. Or somebody who can watch it and kind of just be like just there for the pretty colors and shit, and they're like, oh, like I feel like I can follow it as well. So I think they did a really good job of finding that middle ground of exploring something this massive, and hard to adapt. Another thing is that the casting in this is excellent. I feel like, whether it's what is it, Tom Sturridge? Yeah, Tom Sturridge as Dream, Boyd Holbrook as the Caribbean, Patton Oswalt plays the Raven. I love that fucking Raven. Like every line out of his mouth, every funny. It's just there's something really funny about like a sentient bird who can just talk like a human and is just has this like really amusing candor.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, and he used to be human too, which I thought was really interesting because it's like not everyone that dies becomes a raven, but he did.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Dream picks those people, but I don't know. There's just and there's so many like little like we are introduced to some characters very briefly, and like there's so much backstory to Dream that I'm like, what? I want to know like what happened there. Like in one of the episodes, that's the special. We meet an ex-wife of his, and that's a really great. Isn't it? It's a segmented episode. It's a two-part episode.
One's about kitties.
Yeah, I loved that too. I thought that was really
animated.
Cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
But just there's other people that we interact with that it's like, what's the history there? Like, you want to know more. And I was really into the whole show, like the whole time we were watching it. So
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And we meet the devil, as I'd said.
Yes.
The Caribbean. We have all these like serial killers. There's a lot. There's actually a lot of horror going on in it. We meet literally like the embodiment of nightmares. We meet all these like really terrifying, scary villain characters, but no one disturbed me or ruffled my feathers as much as Funland.
Funland?
Yes.
Yeah. He was, oh my god.
Because that's so real.
Gross, yes.
That's real. That guy is real.
Yeah.
And yikes.
Yikes, yes.
Beyond yikes.
Beyond yikes.
He's a child like murderer and pedophile, sorry. This guy, there's just some like looks in his face and like commentary, and I'm like, dude, Jesus Christ, please. He's so unsettling.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, that's the point. I mean, he's obviously selling it well, and good for him as the actor, but like, Jesus Christ, I meet the devil, and I'm like, nah. You're not as off-putting. And great casting on the devil as well, Gwendolyn Christie.
Oh, she's just wonderful. And I was just gonna say that episode is actually a really cool episode too. Yeah, where they're having like a battle with their words, and just so creative. Yeah. Such a creative show.
Yeah, but big wins for Gwendolyn Christie this year with Wednesday and the Sandman, both great shows, both on Netflix. Yeah, wonderfully cast and a great show. I don't really have any complaints.
No, I don't. I really hope that the second season does in fact happen and nothing, it doesn't get canceled or anything.
The only complaint I have is that we didn't just watch this when it came out.
Sure, yeah.
Right, we're late to the party on it. But we're late to the party on a lot of stuff that we're watching right now.
Yeah.
So we are currently watching Severance, which we are 5 episodes into out of the 9.
And we started it like yesterday night?
We started last night at like midnight. And we watched 4 episodes today. I hope we can watch one more before bed because I'm beyond hooked. Yeah. This is like one of those shows like Lost, where everything is a mystery and you want so bad to find out. And I will also say this, we'll talk about it in the review, of course, but just this seriously might be the scariest show I've ever watched.
Oh my God,
and it's really not horror, but it is.
It totally
but
is.
It is.
1000%.
This is hell.
Yes.
Like, it's funny because Gwendolyn Christie's devil is in this, and we see hell, literal hell in this.
Yeah.
That did not look anywhere near as scary to me.
No.
As what's happening in Severance.
Oh my God.
That is absolute hell to me.
Yeah. For sure. The depiction in this is like classical kind of. Hell.
But this is like what we can perceive as hell because it is to a degree something we actually live, but not like this. And we'll get into it. We're going to talk about it. We'll probably fucking talk about it tomorrow.
I know.
Because I have a feeling we're going to finish it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But anyways, Sandman. Until the Sandman he comes. I had to start with a song, and I had to end with a song. We actually, in Severance, they just sang that song at the funeral.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
So
they did, yeah.
So, anyways, real quick, we also got this today, the My Bloody Valentine, the game. So maybe we should make a video on this. It's cool. We did one for Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is also from Stop the Killer, which just came. I don't know if that was in frame, because I think this is not in frame. But they have Halloween 2, the board game, coming soon for crowdfunding. So if you're interested, that's that. All right.